Derek suggested divorce for the first time, and I didn't agree. On the surface, I seemed reluctant, but secretly I was transferring assets. The second time he brought it up, I still didn't agree. I hadn't gathered enough evidence yet. When he proposed divorce for the third time, I agreed. That woman had contracted an infectious disease. I had to run away quickly. When I got the divorce certificate, I handed him my medical report. "You don't need to thank me, you deserve this." Recently, I noticed something off about Derek. He bought several sets of clothes, went to the salon for a perm, and occasionally smiled foolishly. I felt he was in love. Over the years, his attitude towards me had grown colder. We barely spoke a few words each day. I felt a bit heartbroken, but also thought it was inevitable. One day, I smelled a perfume on him that wasn't mine. I was sure he was seeing someone else. Before I had time to investigate, he asked for a divorce. "Emily, I love him. I don't want him to suffer. If anyone has to suffer, it should be me. How could I agree?" I knew Derek very well. He wouldn't walk away empty-handed now. I lowered my head, rubbed my eyes hard, and when I looked up, my eyes were red and teary. "Derek, I can't let you go. I can't be without you. Can we not get a divorce? Tell me what I did wrong and I'll change." Derek was stunned. He had never seen me like this. "Emily, don't be like this." I wiped my tears with the back of my hand. "Derek, give me a chance, please. No one loves you more than I do. I'll wait for you to come back." The more I spoke, the more disgusted I felt. This idiot was filthy, and I pretended to love him. Derek sighed. "I didn't realize you loved me so much. But Victoria loves me too. This is difficult for me." Ah, scumbag. If I didn't need more time, I would have slapped him already. I kept crying. "Derek, please don't divorce me. How can I live without you?" Derek looked at me. "Can I bring Victoria home?" Idiot, pushing his luck. I cried louder. "Derek, you're so cruel. How can you let me see you two together and be heartbroken?" Derek scratched his nose, a hint of regret in his eyes. What was he regretting? Garbage. All right. I won't bring her home and we won't divorce. But you can't interfere with my life with Victoria. I'll stay with her on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and come home to you on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. As for Sunday, whoever behaves better gets me. Is that okay? Satisfied my foot. I almost blurted out a curse. I pinched my thigh to hold back. Derek had made a lot of money over the years. I couldn't lose everything over something small. No, that's not acceptable. You're my husband. Your time is all mine. You can only go out 1 day a week. Derek snorted. Don't push your luck. I'll stay with Victoria for now. Reflect on yourself at home. He grabbed his coat and left without looking back. I sat on the sofa cursing Derek for half an hour before feeling a bit better. When he was poor, he wasn't like this. Even my mom said he was hardworking. But see how he turned out. Men are indeed unreliable. I went to the hospital for a full checkup, especially for infections. When I got the report, I finally sighed in relief. Everything was fine. After leaving the hospital, I hired a private detective to investigate Victoria. I needed to know everything, especially the transaction records. I wanted everything back. Soon, I signed a contract and paid a deposit. The detective was very nice and even taught me a few legitimate ways to transfer assets. I nodded obediently and sent my mom $5,000 for the upcoming holidays. This was for holiday expenses and support, so she could buy some good food and not skimp on herself. Then I went to Tiffany Amp Company and bought 2 big gold bracelets, one for me and one for my mom. I didn't overlook the bags, clothes, and shoes, especially the expensive ones. Even second-hand ones were valuable. A month later, Derek returned frowning. "Emily, let's get a divorce." I was taken aback. I lowered my head, took out some onions to irritate my eyes, and tears flowed instantly, more real than last time. This past month, I called him every day, bombarded him with texts, and even sent him messages when I got up at night. Derek blocked me, so I got a new number and continued. He found me annoying but also thought he was irresistible. This past month he never came back, which was what I wanted. If not for the detective's updates, I might have believed I couldn't live without Derek. But the evidence wasn't enough. I had to drag it out longer. I already knew the basics about Victoria. Derek was really desperate, accepting anything. Victoria was Derek's boss, and her father was the company's general manager. She was a whole years older than Derek. I couldn't understand how he could stomach her. The worst part was she was ugly, not even average looking. When I first found out, I was upset. If Derek had found a young, beautiful girl, I might have accepted it. But Victoria had her own advantages. She was wealthy and enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, often hosting parties with friends. Derek thoroughly enjoyed it. I cried my heart out, determined not to divorce. After saying a bunch of sweet words, Derek hesitated. "Emily, I didn't know you loved me this much, but I can't give you the love you want. You can have the house. Let's get a divorce." I was overjoyed inside. This love was worth selling, but I also wanted to see him ruined. With tears in my eyes, I looked at him. "You know, I've only ever wanted you." Derek frowned even more. Victoria insisted she divorce, afraid of trouble, as a condition to be with him. "Emily, can you be realistic? I don't love you anymore. What's the use of keeping me?" I didn't care. "We can't divorce now. I haven't gathered all the evidence." "Honey, are you trying to push me to my death? Let's die together. It's so romantic." "How do you want to die? I can fulfill your wish." Derek took 2 steps back, his voice softened. "Emily, calm down. I'm leaving." He walked to the door and turned back. "Emily, I'm not a good person. Stop loving me." I almost laughed out loud and shouted, "Honey, come back. Let's die together." Derek ran away quickly, not even closing the door. A few days later, Detective Lee gave me Victoria's report. My hands trembled as I read it, and I packed Derek's things into the storage room overnight. This marriage had to end immediately. What if Derek lost his mind and insisted on performing marital duties? I'm a woman. I can't win a fight. Even if I did, what if the wound touched her blood? The more I thought about it, the more scared I became. I'm only 25. I haven't lived enough. I sat on the sofa for a long time. When I picked up my phone to tell Derek I agreed to the divorce, he came back with the divorce agreement. This time, Derek proposed divorce again, looking annoyed. "Emily, don't force me to cause a scene at your parents' house." I couldn't imagine the consequences. "All right, I agree to divorce." I put on gloves and carefully read the divorce agreement, pointing to the property division. "I don't agree with this. You're young and capable, unlike me with a $5,000 monthly salary, barely enough to support myself. I know you have, in savings. You found true love and have a great job. Shouldn't you compensate me a little?" Derek looked impatient. "Emily, don't push it. Giving you the house is already fair." My eyes welled up as if deeply wronged. "But you cheated, living with another woman for 2 months and 3 days. You know how sad I am." Derek looked uncomfortable, and after a long pause he said, "Another in compensation. Don't think I don't know you've saved up quite a bit secretly." I couldn't admit it. I started calculating on my laptop, including my salary and dowry. Derek didn't believe me, refusing to give more. I had to bring out a stack of evidence, including photos of him with Victoria and a group of people partying. "What if I take these to your company? Looks like you had fun, Derek." I didn't want to threaten him, but he left me no choice. Derek's face turned red. "Emily, this is a crime. I could sue you. Let's part amicably, don't go too far. I shrugged. I've already lost you, what do I have to fear? Poverty is terrifying. I'll do anything for money. Derek looked at me coldly. Stop pretending. You investigated me and now threaten me. You never loved me. He was right. I did love him when we dated, but after marriage the feelings faded. I still saw him as family, someone I could spend my life with, but he left for a new thrill, which hurt me. After I wrote a non-disclosure agreement, Derek finally agreed. The photos were too compromising, he couldn't risk it. He'd earn the tens of thousands back in a year. We agreed to meet at the Civil Affairs Bureau at a.m. the next day. Derek wanted to pack and move. I led him to the storage room, pointing at the packed luggage. Don't mention it, it's my duty. Derek's face darkened. Emily, you disappoint me. I didn't expect you to be like this. I blinked at him, not understanding his anger. I packed his things, but he was still unhappy. Men are hard to understand. What did I do? At least I didn't cheat. I'm a good person. Derek's eyes reddened again, looking like an angry rat. I smiled. Don't look at me like that. I won't help you move. Your clothes seem dirty. What if they're contaminated? I was fully armed when packing. Derek gritted his teeth. Emily, you'll regret this. Pfft. I regret not making you move out sooner. After he moved out, I did a thorough cleaning, using 2 bottles of disinfectant. Afraid he'd come back for revenge, I changed the locks, installed surveillance at the door, and carried pepper spray in my pocket. Human nature is unpredictable. The next day, I arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau on time. Derek arrived late, with dark circles under his eyes. I looked at him with a smirk. Emily laughed, seeing that Derek hadn't slept all night. Celebrated the whole night, huh? Impressive. Derek shot me a glare. Emily, you don't understand anything. I looked at him as if he were an idiot. Everyone's getting divorced. Why should I understand you? Derek turned his head away, and I strode into the courthouse. I followed closely behind him. If there wasn't a cooling-off period, I'd make her pay today, he muttered. Derek didn't say a word to me after that. That was fine by me. I didn't want to talk to him either. I sat far away from him. After we completed the paperwork, Derek asked, "Are you satisfied now?" This man had issues. He was the one who insisted on the divorce. I looked at him intently. Why did you choose someone old and ugly? It makes me feel so indignant. Derek's face darkened. You don't understand anything. Do you think I prioritize looks? I value inner qualities more. I looked at him with disdain. We're all adults here. What's there to misunderstand? Victoria is your boss, and her father is the general manager. Of course she would cling to you. There must be other reasons too. Derek snorted coldly and turned to leave. I called out loudly after him, "Take care of yourself, Derek." He stumbled and nearly fell. I laughed heartily. What can I say? I'm just too kind. Even after the divorce, I still reminded him. Whether he listens or not is none of my concern. I hadn't told my parents about Derek yet. They liked him a lot. Whenever I went home, most of the dishes on the table were his favorites. I didn't know if they could accept our divorce, but I had to tell them now, because I was worried Derek might go crazy. What if he wanted to drag someone down with him? I called Mom and told her I'd be coming home soon. She asked if Derek would be coming too, so she could prepare the dishes he liked. Derek didn't deserve it. When I got home, it was already past 4 in the afternoon. Mom opened the door and looked behind me several times. Emily, did you really come back alone? Isn't Derek too busy today? Take some food for him later, it's all his favorites. I sighed. She liked Derek so much, I was worried she wouldn't be able to accept it. I changed into my slippers and walked into the dining room. Most of the dishes were still Derek's favorites. I had to tell them he wasn't coming back, but they still set a place for him. I wanted to say it right away, but seeing their happy faces, I decided to wait until after the meal. At the table, Mom and Dad kept mentioning Derek and urged me to have a baby soon to complete our family. I just responded perfunctorily. After the meal, I made tea for them and started to get to the point. Derek has someone new. We got divorced. I said it calmly, but my eyes were fixed on them. What, you got divorced? My dad jumped up from the sofa. Derek has someone new? Are you sure? Mom clutched my hand, her face full of disbelief. I took a stack of documents from my bag. Take a good look. I wouldn't wrong him. They took the documents and flipped through them, their brows furrowed more and more. I quickly served them tea and water. Don't be angry. It's not worth it for your health. He's just a man. There are plenty more out there. Mom glared at me. Why didn't you tell us sooner? What if he hurt you? Have you been to the hospital for a checkup? I shook my head, blinking at her. I'm fine. Mom stood by my side, poking my head with her finger. What were you thinking? Did you get a checkup or not? You're my daughter. We were only extra nice to him because we care about you. Love me, love my dog, you know? My parents treated him so well, he probably thought my family was clinging to him. He didn't take me seriously at all. In the end, he just left without a word. I had a checkup and everything was fine. He hadn't been home for months. My parents breathed a sigh of relief. What question haven't I answered? I looked at them intently. Mom blushed. Your grandmother taught me that. Your dad did well too. I didn't know men nowadays could be so opportunistic. Dad snorted. Don't compare him to me. I find him disgusting. If I wasn't afraid he had some disease, I would have had someone beat him up. He turned to me. Emily, come back and live here. I'm not comfortable with you being alone. I shook my head vigorously. It takes over 2 hours to drive from here to the office. I'd have to get up at 6 in the morning. I really can't do it. My parents exchanged glances and seemed to make a decision. When I was about to leave, they appeared at the door with suitcases. Mom smiled at me. Emily, we don't feel comfortable with you being alone. We're coming with you. If anything happens, we can help. Dad looked serious. Don't think I'm old. I'm much stronger than Derek. He can't beat me. My eyes reddened. I used to beg them to stay with me, but they always said they had many friends here and were used to it. Dad gently patted me. We're retired anyway. We can live anywhere. Mom took my hand. Don't worry, I'm very sociable. In a few days, I'll get to know your neighborhood well. I can even be your lookout. I nodded and gave her a thumbs up. Having them with me would indeed make me feel more at ease. A few days later, Derek actually sent me a message. Emily, I miss you. I was so shocked I dropped my phone. What was going on? Is this man insane? I'm so afraid he'll suddenly not get a divorce. I picked up my phone. Thankfully, the screen wasn't broken. After thinking for a long time, I sent her an intimate photo of her and Victoria. I have many more. Do you want to see them? I was blatantly threatening him. What kind of trash dares to say he misses me? After a long time, Derek finally sent a message. Did you ever love me? I rolled my eyes and blocked him. How could Derek get more disgusting? He doesn't even deserve the word love. The next day, Derek came over with a bunch of gifts. I thought he was crazy. Did he really think he could salvage this disgusting relationship? My dad answered the door. Derek stood there with a face full of grievance, looking at Robert. Emily misunderstood me. His expression disgusted my dad. Robert pulled a stick from the shoe cabinet and without hesitation swung it at him. Get out. You're not welcome here. Derek raised his arm to block it, tears almost streaming. Such a money-making man, and I can date a recently graduated young girl. She looked smug, as if she had already dated a bunch of college girls. I smiled and asked her, Don't you like older people? Why are you interested in college students now? Victoria, Are you allowed to date now? The old Victoria wouldn't have approved? Derek glared at me. You don't understand anything. There it was again, as if he understood everything. I took a medical report out of my bag and handed it to him. Here's your divorce gift. Don't mention it. You deserve it. And please, don't go messing around with college students anymore. I'm afraid you'll get chased down. Derek took the report. Slowly, his hands started to tremble, then his whole body began to shake. Derek whispered, I don't believe it. How is this possible? She looked up at me. You're lying to me, aren't you? You're just trying to make me angry, right? I looked at her innocently from a distance. If you don't believe me, you can go shrun. He's sick, don't go near him. The security guards are here, and they're armed. Never before have I felt so secure seeing the security guards. I hurriedly said, he has a contagious disease, be careful. The security guard nodded at me and even pushed me into the office building. I handed him my pepper spray, just in case it might come in handy. Moments later, Derek was knocked to the ground by a stun baton. He stared at me hatefully. Emily, I hate you. I'm so wronged. It was him who brought the ghost, and she caught the disease. I was the victim all along. Looking at the wound on his hand, I couldn't help but smirk. It was a cut he accidentally made with a fruit knife. I heard the wound was hard to heal, but it still felt insufficient. Before long, the police arrived, and I went to the station with them, as the incident was related to me. After explaining everything, Derek came to his senses. He bowed and apologized to me. I'm sorry, I was too shocked and wasn't thinking clearly. You'll forgive me, right? I didn't accept his apology. This wasn't something an apology could fix. The moment he pulled out the knife, he had to pay for his impulsiveness. Attacking someone in public is not something a few days in jail can resolve. Derek was too dangerous and was detained immediately. He tried to shirk responsibility by claiming mental issues, insisting he went mad because he couldn't accept his illness. He blamed me for being selfish, wanting a divorce to get rid of him, without giving him enough care. He put all the blame on me. The real culprit was Victoria, but he didn't dare to confront her. I spread the news about Victoria and Derek's illness. That day, Derek and most of the male colleagues from the company went to the hospital for checkups. 5 or 6 of them returned in tears. Victoria never went back to the company. Her father immediately organized a health checkup for everyone in the company. And, I heard that the whole group died and was buried with Victoria.